All right, and welcome to another episode of Delayed Offside. As you can tell, we're a little bit shorthanded here today. We're killing off a two-man penalty, but that's okay. Me and Adam, we got this. We're going to hold down the fort today.
You got it. I'm ready. I think we've got a strong line out tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. Sometimes when your
Yeah.
superstars are out and then your muckers get in and your checkers and they really they lead you to victory sometimes.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what tonight's going to be.
I 100% agree. Before we begin, though, I just want to, since we've been in this COVID world for the last year, talk about something that we haven't been able to do for a while, and that's attending hockey games. Do you remember the last hockey game you went to? It could be a WHL game, NHL game. What was the
Yes,
last hockey game?
I think the last hockey game I went to was actually with Pilon. We went to an Oilers game. It was against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I talked a little bit about it a couple episodes ago. It was awesome. The atmosphere was crazy. In terms of like rivalries, it didn't feel like that. It felt like camaraderie. Oddly enough, it was like for every Oilers fan that was there. They were there with like a Maple Leafs fan, and everyone was just having a good time. There was no, from at least the section we were in, there was no hard feelings, no one mouthing off, no one fighting. It was odd. And then the last one I remember going to was actually when the Memorial Cup was in Regina.
Oh,
and
nice.
we went I took my son Jack to a game against do you remember the team, Jack? Yes, Le Titan against the Pats.
Oh,
and
nice.
Le Titan was beating the Pats, I believe, 7-1 or 6-1, and the Pats fought their way back in the third period to, I think it was 6-5, and then Le Titan got a shorthanded goal. And then after that, we met up with Jeff Merrick in the panel.
Nice.
And later, Jeff got a hold of me because we had been in contact before, and later came on the podcast with Baron and I.
Nice.
So that alone was a cool experience.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yours?
Yeah, so my last hockey game I went to was the Flames and Oilers about a year ago with the big brawl where Smith versus Talbot, and it was in the Saddle Dome, and that was cool to see. But it was a terrible game to go to as a Flames fan. I think the Oilers scored 30 seconds into the game, and I didn't know, but the section, everyone behind me in Oilers jerseys, just going wild. I was in a Flames jersey. They were letting me have it. People were yelling at me to cut my hair. They were ruthless. You guys are winning, man. Take it easy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. I'm glad I went because you get to see a goalie fight. How often does that happen? But it was a crazy game. What would you say would be the greatest live hockey game you ever attended?
I haven't been to many, and I would say probably the one that was the most fun was that Toronto Edmonton game. It was 3-0 going into the third. There was about 5 minutes left. It looked like Anderson was going to get the shutout.
Yeah.
And then Edmonton scored too quick.
Oh.
And it was 3-2, and Pilon was really cocky most of the game. And he got really quiet beside me.
Yeah.
And he was like, I wasn't sure they were going to be able to pull it out. It went in regulation, but it was down to the wire.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I've only been to 3 NHL games though. I've only been to a Coyotes LA game,
right.
Edmonton and Nashville. Back when it was Taylor Hall's rookie season.
That was a long time ago.
That was a really long time ago. And then this past, I guess it would have been 2 years ago, Toronto and Oilers. And I've been to a few preseason games, which were fun. Oh, right. Yeah. I saw the Heritage Classic.
How could you forget about that one? Yeah, that's got to be up there.
It was, we were only there for about half of it though.
Yeah.
That was because it was just way too cold, and I had my 2 sons, Jack and Atticus, with me, and it was just we were bundled in sleeping bags, and it was just too cold, so we had to leave. It turned out to be an awesome game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the Flames and Jets, and
that's right.
I believe the Flames were blowing them out. I think it was 3-0, and then the Jets came back to win it in overtime.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I know Jets won in overtime. But I thought it was only 2-1 or something. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah,
But I think definitely the Jets won in OT. Well, that's interesting to hear because like being in Calgary, I kind of take for granted having an NHL team in my city. So like when you said like you've
right.
only been to a couple NHL games, like I try to go to at least 2 or 3 every year. But like for me, I have two that really stick out, and one of them was not a hot like an NHL game. It was not like for any standings, not for any points. I don't even know what the final score was. But I'll
Yeah.
take you back to 2009. It's the Team Canada orientation camp, and it's the red and white scrimmage, and it's the who's who of who's going to make the team for
Wow.
Vancouver 2010. And I
Right.
got tickets to it, and it's like Crosby was playing, Martin Brodeur, Jerome McGinley, St. Louis, Jay Bouwmeester. It was like star-studded. Like everyone that made that team, like Chris Pronger was on there, Roberto Luongo. It was insane. Like I've never seen a game. It was like an all-star game, but like people were actually trying to make the team and make an impression.
Holy
That
crap.
that that was super cool. But for me, the number one until they win the Stanley Cup, it will always be 2004 Game 6 against Detroit in overtime. Martin Jelena scores, make it 1-0, and the Flames win the series, beat the Wings. The whole place goes wild. It was like it was in slow motion because I don't know if you remember that goal, but Jelena was at the side of the net and he has the puck. He has a whole open net, and it just felt like in slow motion as he puts it
Oh
in.
my
Like you could
God.
see the dome rise. It was
Yeah.
crazy. I've never been anything like that. It was the first time I've ever seen the Flames win a playoff series. I think it's the first time they won a playoff series in Calgary since 1989. So
Right.
it had been a long time coming. So that would be number one until they win that cup. But yeah, all right, let's go into the
That's sweet.
episode. Let's hit
Yeah.
that music and let's get going. All right, and so we're back for another episode. As I mentioned, we're shorthanded, but that's okay. We're gonna kill this 5-on-3 penalty. So let's begin. A couple milestones happened over the weekend, this past week in hockey, and let's start with one of the people I mentioned earlier, Sid the Kid. He's no longer a kid; he's a grown man now, and he played his 1,000th game in the NHL. And we're kind of, I have to admit, I'm kind of lucky that we got to see that because you look at some other players that had injuries, much like Sid did early on in his career, that didn't get to that milestone. So a huge congratulations to Sid. He hasn't always been my favorite player in the NHL. No shade.
Right.
It's just that I've been a Capitals fan. And so they've had
Oh,
such a
okay.
big rivalry that I haven't really, shown him the love that he probably deserves. What are your highlights of Crosby's career? I mean, it could be NHL, it could be international. What do you most remember from these first 1,000 games of his career?
Well, the one that stands out the most for me specifically is the golden goal,
Of course.
right? That fanned on 5-hole goal, Ryan Miller, the turn to the team with the double fist pump looking over. That was huge, right? I remember I was in my brother-in-law's, I believe I was in my brother-in-law's living room at that time. We lost it. I believe the U.S. had fought back
Yes,
and
that's
tied
right.
it up,
Right.
right? And it wasn't looking good. And I remember my dad calling or texting one of the two and being like, "Doesn't look good for Canada. I don't think they're going to be able to do this." And I was
Yeah.
like, immediately like, "Oh, Crosby!"
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like you said, like you really initially got the feeling that the longevity of his career was going to be cut short due
Hmm.
to concussion
Right.
issues. You're like, "Oh, Crosby's injured again." And it's his head. And then
Right.
until like he got a second look from, I believe it was a doctor that looked at Tom Brady, if
Hmm.
I'm mistaken, and it was a neck issue, not a concussion.
Oh,
Was one
okay.
of them, right?
Right.
Um, but you didn't think you thought maybe you'd be missing out on one of the greatest players to play the game due to injuries. So it's quite the feat that he made 1,000 games. I think he's stronger and more durable than he's ever been. And you think of Crosby, you think 3 cups,
Hmm.
and you also think of Evgeny Malkin. And I think of it this way: I think that Crosby and Malkin are the exact kind of replica in different ways of Mario and Yammer. They've
Totally.
got the back-to-back cups.
Hmm.
They brought one more than they brought to the pile. Like it's just a whole different dynasty. And
Hmm.
at the same time, the other names that kind of pop up through the whole like reliving his era are like Chris Letang, Marc-Andre Fleury, right? So there's so much with Crosby. I've always liked him, and I've always loved that Sid versus OV rivalry. I've never hated Sid because I always thought he brought this personality that was never really there that the NHL needed. So yeah, Crosby brings so much, and he's got that like grinding, skilled game. I don't know, man. It's just such a good player. I'm glad I got to watch a bunch of his games on TV.
No, totally. I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, you? What's your moment or moments?
The dueling hat tricks.
Did I take them?
Well, the golden goal, obviously, right? Like every
Yeah.
Canadian's gonna say that's probably the most important goal like scored in Canadian hockey and since '87, right? Like Iggy with that pass, you can hear him yelling Iggy, like that's just so iconic. Being a Flames fan here, Ginla being in on that call as well. Him again, like going to Pittsburgh to try win that cup. Unfortunately, didn't quite happen, but they had a good run. Like they made the Eastern Conference Finals, and I watched a bunch of Penguins games more than I probably ever did. Cheering for them that year, and unfortunately, just didn't work out. The dueling hat tricks with Ovechkin in the second round of the playoffs.
Right.
That was pretty epic. Like, when's the last time you've seen two-star players get hat tricks in the playoffs in the same game, right?
Insane.
Iconic.
On different teams, yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That was pretty crazy. Besides that, I remember his rookie year. I remember him coming in and, like, he played the World Juniors, and that World Junior team was just unfair. Like, it was like a cheat code. It was like when you play on, like, expert level, it was that team was unbeatable. Like, if you put that team in the NHL today, they would win the Stanley Cup, even with their goaltender who never like played a handful of games in the NHL. The team was just still stacked. And he comes into the NHL as a rookie, and I'm like, there's no way this kid is going to put up like points. Like, I know like people on ESPN were saying like, oh, he's going to get 100 points this rookie year. I was like, there's no way. Like, no rookie had really dominated the league in a long time. And so he comes in the league and he puts up 100 points as a rookie, and he played with Mario for a bit at the end of his career. And I remember him playing against the Flames, and the Flames had a good team at that time. And I think he got like a goal and assist, and the Flames still won, but I was pretty impressed with this, like however old he was, 19, 18-year-old kid. So that was like my first impression of Crosby, and it's just grown since then. And as I mentioned, like it's no shade on Crosby at all. Like I think he's a hell of a player. It was just like, it's just a rivalry, right? You just cheer for whoever you're cheering for. And as a Capitals fan, I was cheering for Ovechkin. But we've mentioned Mario, we've mentioned Jágr. This was kind of being talked about a bit in regards to Crosby, and it was, is he a top 5 player all time? And now I'm just going to change the dynamics because it's hard to compare Maurice Richard to Sidney Crosby. Completely different eras, completely different, styles. Richard put up 50 goals in I think 50 games. And he had, Richard is like a legend, and Gordie Howe, same thing. Like you can't really compare. So I'm just going to say from 1980 until today, and just include forwards because it's hard to compare defensemen. Is Crosby one of your top 5 forwards from that period?
Oh, I'd say he's pretty darn close.
Yeah.
If not in there. I would say so. I mean, 3 Stanley Cups in his career in the era that they're playing in is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, he's in that top 5.
Okay, it's like, so for me, it's close, but I have like Gretzky and Lemieux 1-2.
Yeah.
Unquestionable 1-2. And then I have Jágr number 3. Now, I don't know if that's controversial or not, but the man has second most points in NHL history, 1,900 points. He had a career that spanned 26 years. So I have him number 3. And then I have Messier number 4. I mean, it hurts for me to put an Oiler that high.
2 Oilers.
2 Oilers, that's right. But like Gretzky won 5 Stanley Cups. He won 2 without Gretzky. And he's got 1,800, 1,900 points. So he's up there. And then I have a mix with Crosby in it. So I have Ovechkin, I have Sakic, Yzerman, and Crosby. And those are my next 4. And it's hard to rank them because, in my opinion, they're so close. It's like, how do you decide? Crosby has more cups, than Sakic, but Sakic played a little bit longer, and he played, maybe a higher scoring era, but he also played in a low scoring era during the dead puck era, right? So it's hard to say how you compare those two. Or like Steve Yzerman. Yzerman put up 155 points in a year, and he didn't even win the scoring race, right? Like, it's, you could look at the Hart trophies, but it's like guys like Sakic and Yzerman had to play against Lemieux and Gretzky. And so for me, right now, I'm going to say no. I'm going to, and I even have Ovechkin ahead of Crosby. And people might say, oh, you're just biased because you're a Capitals fan. But, for me, Ovechkin has a chance to break Gretzky's goal scoring record.
Which is huge. And it's not out of this universe either.
The fact we're talking about it and it's realistic, to me, that has so much water, like that carries so much water. And like Crosby, he's had a great career, but he's not being close to like breaking those records. Now, injuries, unfortunately, took some of those games away. But even if he wasn't injured, he wouldn't be coming close to breaking Gretzky's goal scoring record or points record. So for me, that's the tiebreaker. So I have Crosby, maybe 4 or 5. I have him eighth. Right now.
Okay.
I think he has a chance to go up into the top 5. I don't think he can make the top 3. I think those 3 are set for me. Maybe I'm just like an old guy that's just like picking the old guard, but I don't see him, he's 33, unless he has like this huge career renaissance.
Right. O'Connor will make it in there for you. Then you'll have 3 Oilers in your top 5.
Well, you bring up a good segue, and see, this is the good stuff that, just me and you here, we got that segue, that nice chemistry. Connor McDavid put up career point 500 in game 369. Now, you've probably, out of the 371 that he's played, you've probably seen 350 of them, if not more, being an Oilers fan.
Of the games? I've probably seen all of them except for maybe 1 or 2.
Wow.
Which is, it's pathetic. But I make a point. I would always have the game, and it would only be if that game was blacked out for some reason and I couldn't get it.
Right.
So I'm a devoted fan.
Man, that's good that you get to see this all-time great in his prime. We talk about Crosby.
Oh, it's insane.
I've probably maybe seen 30 Crosby games, if I'm being honest, in the regular season, right? But you're lucky you got to witness that. So tell me what it's been like. Like, you saw his rookie year. How has his career evolved since he started in the league? And is he a better player now than when he first came into the league? Like, let's hear
absolutely. I think that, when he first came into the league, he had that speed. He had that speed and that skill. He always brought it to the game. I remember watching him and being like, holy crap, there's at least 7 times a game this guy's creating a scoring chance.
Mm-hmm.
This is terrifying for other teams.
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
Didn't always have the support in terms of skill on those lines. A lot of guys didn't know how to play with them. Like Hall, for instance, they couldn't garner that kind of chemistry that they thought that they would be having. There's been a lot of juggling, but at the same time, McDavid is very paralleled with, he can play with anybody, but at the same time, when you find a really good fit with McDavid, it's a Cinderella slipper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You get guys like, and it's odd because it's guys that you don't really expect to have that chemistry with him. Guys like Patrick Maroon.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Patrick Maroon was paired with him for some odd reason, he knew, which to me makes sense. Go to the net with your stick down.
Right.
Bang. Patrick Maroon became a much better player going to this slot, stick down. He's big bodied. No one could really move him that much. And bang. Mm-hmm. He played so well with McDavid. And then Cassian came in. He had great chemistry with McDavid. Now, not so much this year. It just hasn't happened. And Cassian was quite a bit snake bitten and robbed a few times. So watching McDavid, though, like he said, for instance, this year, he spent a lot of time with, is it Will Acton? No. Who is it? Acton. Keith Acton.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll pretend I know who that is. Oh, yes. Yeah.
He spent a lot of time with him this summer. Yeah. He's an ex-NHLer. improving his face-off abilities. Now,
Okay.
that was something that he was not very good in. And this year, he's been quite a bit better, and there's been a substantial growth, I would say, in that area. But watching him, like every year, something seems a little different or added onto Connor's game. Whether that's speed, like it just seems like he's getting faster every year. Even after this knee injury, like he still looks faster than before. He's burning guys. So I don't know, watching him, his ability to find people on the ice and paths that the puck should go that shouldn't be there, and his ability to make insane plays that no other player can make.
Yeah.
It's just been really fun to watch.
Oh yeah, like he's in a whole different level. Like, watching him, unfortunately, every time I'm watching him is probably when he's playing Flames and he's lighting us up. So, it hasn't been quite the fun experience for me watching him. But no, I definitely see that. Like his speed, the way he gets the puck as soon as he gets it, and he's just off. And he's faster when he has the puck than when he doesn't have the puck. It's crazy.
Right.
Like you can't stop him. The only way you can stop him is to take a penalty or to trip him or something. So he's practically unstoppable. The way the league is set up now, like if he had the speed, I think in the 90s when it was more clutch and grab, we wouldn't have been able to see it because I think defensemen would have been hooking him, holding him.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad that the rules, in theory, I'm glad that the rules have changed because it allows him to really go out there and skate around. Now, people were talking about him in an all-time great sense as well. Do you put him there already, or do you think he needs a couple more years before you're ready to say he's a top 10, top 15 player forward all time?
It's tough because if you look at players like Paul Kariya or Eric Lindros, whose careers were cut short because of injuries, we still hold them in kind of those legendary status.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. I think right now he is a legend. He, like if he had a career-ending injury.
Oh,
don't
say that. Yeah.
Right. But he would be there. He would be talked about.
Oh, for sure.
Constantly.
I think so. Yeah.
I think the fact that he's got 500 points and like he's brought this speed and this new dynamic to hockey and it's evolving with him is kind of cool. So I think it speaks a lot to the renaissance of Connor McDavid.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. The only thing I could say would be like if his career, his point production goes off a cliff, and like I don't see that happening. The only thing I could see is if he went, left the Oilers and went to a really terrible team like Fedorov when he left the Wings and went to Columbus and Anaheim. They weren't very good back then, and his production like dived off a cliff. But McDavid,
Right.
I don't see it. I think he's going to stick in Edmonton. They've got good offensive players there. And for me, I think he's going to continue this, until the end of this contract that's up, to be honest with you. So we'll see, in 4 or 5 years, we could be talking about him hitting 1,000 points. It's not out of the realm. Like totally possible in 5 years, he'll have 1,000 points. So if not sooner. Yeah. So, he's going to get robbed too, because this year and then last year, he lost a couple games because unfortunately of the events that are going around in the world. So he's losing about 40 games, so about half a season of points. 40 games for him, that's like 60 points.
Oh yeah, and he lost a little bit. I think he lost the last half of the season due to injury in his rookie year as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right, because he never won the Calder, right? As far as I know. So he's not all-time great until you win that Calder trophy.
He's following in Gretzky's footsteps.
Yeah, exactly. Who needs that? Well, we mentioned McDavid, we mentioned his speed. I've been kind of delaying this discussion, but I can't tiptoe around it anymore. Let's talk about the Battle of Alberta this weekend. Going into it Friday night, I was excited. I was like, okay, we get Friday, Saturday. I expected a split. That was my expectation going in. If we could win 1-2 or win one and maybe lose one in overtime, I'll take it. And that did not happen. In fact, Calgary got, 2-1 Friday night, was a close game, kind of boring, not that exciting. And then Saturday night.
Super boring.
Yeah. Saturday night is when the fireworks came out. And even though, it was a lopsided game, it was a lot more entertaining from a fan's perspective, not from a Flames fan's perspective, but from an NHL fan's perspective, it was a lot more entertaining.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about like the Oilers? What happened? Like they seemed to really turn the ship around. They were below 500, and now they've won 9 out of 10, and they're rolling. Like people are talking about not just playoffs; they're second in this North Division. And people are talking, people are getting their hopes up in Edmonton. They're saying, this team could be something special. It's still early, but there's that chatter. You hear that chatter going around. What are your thoughts? Like, what happened? What turned this franchise, or what turned the season around for the Oilers? And are they for real, or is this just a hot streak that is going to fizzle out?
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot streak. I think they just found their mojo again. So the issue with like this season is there was no preseason, and that's
Right.
for every team, right? So you usually have about that 10-game warm-up, whereas the Oilers didn't, and we saw how that really impacted this team. And you're like, oh my God, like the loss in the qualifiers in the summer has followed them into this season, and it was like they were chasing again, even in the defensive zone, chasing. They were playing their best hockey from January, I would say probably early January to when the season shut down early March last year. And they seem to have gotten back to that Dave Tippett defensively smart and responsible hockey, right? Which can be boring, and it makes that first game extremely boring, that 2-1 loss. Like they just suffocate that center. And when the Flames tried to enter, they would like close in on that side and just shut it down.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see, because you're not used to seeing an Oilers team like that. You're used to seeing kind of loosey-goosey defensive one-on-one play that was never going the Oilers' way. There was stupid defensive mishaps. You're seeing responsible defenders that are more seasoned as well. So case in point is Darnell Nurse. That guy is putting his money where his mouth is.
Great.
He signed the 2-year bridge deal, and he has gotten better every year, and he's tied for the lead in scoring among defensemen for goals with 6. He's just so poised and difficult to play against. And then another thing is there's the pairing that I looked at and kind of cringed when I saw was 2 games ago. I saw the pairing of Chris Russell and Adam Larson.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God. But they've been pretty damn good. And, I think defensive depth has been huge for the Oilers as well. Another thing that I noticed is depth scoring. Yes. So we're getting a lot of scoring from defensemen, but also from the bottom 6 as well. They're chiming in with some timely goals. Jujhar Khaira, once he was back from the taxi squad, seemed like he got a wake-up call and started playing like Jujhar Khaira from about 2 or 3 years ago, which really excites me, because I was like ready. I was like, get rid of Khaira.
He had a good fight with Bennett. Like Bennett fought Nurse maybe 2-3 years ago, and that was like a good scrap. And Nurse is a big boy. And Jujhar Khaira held his own against Bennett, if not won the fight. Like it was pretty even. It was a pretty even scrap.
I couldn't believe the throws he was punching. He hit him with an uppercut.
Who is this kid?
Who's
Came
got
out of
the
nowhere?
Gall? Yeah. So I don't know. It's on nights where McDavid and Draisaitl don't get points that the Oilers are winning, that you're like, okay, things are going right. And the emergence, like the reemergence of Mike Smith coming back into the lineup, I think really sparks that group, especially in a leadership position. He may not be like the best goalie, but man, he's vocal, and I think he's a positive presence for those guys. And if you think competitor, like immediately you see Mike Smith getting pissed if he misses a goal. He's full of that emotion. He sparks the team. So I think all around and in every aspect, things are starting to get better for the Oilers. Are they perfect? No, not at all. But to have 1 goal against in the past 2 games against Calgary, I think that's pretty good, because Calgary's got some hot hands with Mangiapane, Goudreau, Dubé, Kachuk, like and Anderson. God, whenever he takes a shot from the point, I like
just say a prayer.
yeah, he's got a nice shot.
Yeah, he's got to use it more. But no, I agree. Like I was presently surprised, unpleasantly surprised with how the
Yeah.
Oilers played because they kind of ran the show on the weekend. On the Calgary side, it was a rough stretch of games. Like they had lost to Vancouver and then they come into Edmonton and lose both those. The big win tonight though against Toronto because Toronto's the number one team in the North, and to shut them out 3-0 and shut out Matthews, who is the hottest goal scorer in the league right now. That's nothing to
Yep.
sneeze at. And Dave Rittich got a shutout, so big save Dave is back. So that's good to see that
Not
Flames need
against
him.
the Oilers.
He's got his mojo back. He's getting it back now. So, he
Yeah,
actually had a good game against Edmonton.
he
The
did.
2-1. Yeah, he played good. He made that nice save on Draisaitl. So he's slowly rounding into form, and that's important. Markstrom can't play all the games, as we know. You got to have a tandem in this shortened season. So that's huge. And Monahan was missing. And I think this weekend showed just how important Monahan is. A lot of Flames fans were kind of like
Oh God,
upset
yeah.
with him and his play. But I think he's rounding into a good two-way forward where you see him more in the back checking and he's more physical. He's more engaged and involved, which is nice to
Yeah.
see. And tonight he got rewarded with a goal. So Monahan has showed he's an important player, and Flames fans were panicking and saying we got to trade Monahan, we got to trade Gaudreau, we got to trade Kachuk. So hopefully this win calms the fans down, and we'll see going forward how they react to it, to this win. I know they got Toronto again on Wednesday, and then they play Ottawa 4 times in a row. Now, Ottawa's no
Oh, that's
cakewalk anymore.
no, no. I agree.
Yeah, beginning of the year, you know, you get Ottawa, it's free square on the bingo card. Just get your 2 points and get out of there. It's not the case anymore. They've
No.
really stepped up their play. I haven't been following them as much, but they beat Montreal, the 5-1 comeback to Toronto. So, Ottawa's a good, young, fast team. They're a heavy team. Their goaltending is a little off and on, but if they're having an on day, look out. You're going to be in for a dogfight. So it'll be interesting to see this next 5 games for Calgary could determine the season. If they go 1-4, everyone's back on the table to get traded. But if they go 4-1, then hey, you're probably in a playoff spot if you get 4 out of 5 wins this coming up. So interesting
Right.
times in Alberta. We'll see what happens, and good thing we didn't bet on that game because
I would have
I'd be
done it. I
broke.
would have ended your $10 betting
Right,
spree.
right. Yeah, I'm on a heater
So,
right now.
do you think then it has anything to do with coaching there with Ward?
I was thinking about this, and the one thing I was thinking was it could be coaching, but it may not even be Ward's fault, because if you look at his systems that he's implementing, it seems like the players are thinking too much out there. They're like, should I be here? Should I be there? And they're just a half second behind. And you watch the Flames play, and sometimes they get hemmed into their own zone, and players are just stuck. It's like their skates are stuck because I don't think they know where to go. And I'm wondering if it has something to do with this new season, because with practices probably way less than usual,
Right.
everything's probably through Zoom. I'm wondering if it's just a thing where he's trying to implement a system, but he can't get through to the guys because you're not getting out there and practicing. And so, if you change a coach now, it could just be another same thing where they have to figure out a new system with it. But with coaching, one thing I did notice as well that makes me think maybe it could be coaching is when you watch like a 4-game series that they've had, with Winnipeg and Vancouver, every time, it was the same thing. They start off really strong. They win the first game. Second game is a little closer. Third game, they lose. And then the fourth game, they get blown out. And,
Right.
I'm wondering if it's just that other teams are adapting and changing their game plan, and the Flames are kind of just staying still and staying static. And the other teams are, okay, Flames make this move, and then they're like 2 moves ahead of the Flames. And then the Flames aren't doing anything to counteract that. And by the time, the fourth game rolls around, teams figure them out, and they're blowing them out. So we'll see, because they have Ottawa in this 4-game stretch. So we'll see if they figure that out against the Senators. But yeah,
Right.
the first game, they always look great. They look great. First game against Toronto, even first game against Edmonton, they were 2-1. It could have gone either way. So we'll see. We'll see. we'll see if it's a coach, if they decide to make a move, change the coach. But at this point in the season, it's hard to say, right? Like after the 7-1 loss, I think emotions were high, and I think rightfully so. Like anytime you get blown out by your rival, you don't want to just sit and do nothing. So
no, exactly.
I mean, if it was reversed, I guarantee Edmonton fans would be like, "Oh, you got to change this, you got to change this." So it's just natural. It's just part of being a fan, I think. And yeah, so
I have a question.
Okay, let's hear it. Okay? Let's hear it.
I think we should talk a minute for just about Barron's fall from grace. Now, what I'm talking about is the Montreal Canadiens being the number 1 team in the Scotia North Division.
We got to pay Scotiabank 5 cents every time we mention the division
now. Now, I didn't see them making the playoffs really this year. I still kind of don't. And I kept getting messages from Barron in that first week or whatever. I'm like, okay, maybe they are real.
Yeah.
But are we seeing the real colors of the Montreal Canadiens?
Ooh, it's hard to say. With the season being so weird, it could just be a thing where every team is going to have a slump. And I think people are just magnifying this thing because it's like there's nothing else going on. So everyone's just focusing all their attention. Like the fact that you're playing a rival every night, every time you lose, it's like 3 losses. But every time you win, it's like 3 wins. So for Montreal to kind of go through this little bit of a slump here, I don't know if it's for real or not. I know a lot of people have been on Carey Price saying, he's not the goalie he once was.
Right.
And Jake Allen has been performing better than him on most nights. So I don't know if they're going to make a change or not. For me, I haven't seen too many of their games to make that call. What do you say about it?
I don't know. You see the emergence of like Nick Suzuki and Tyler Toffoli fitting in there and Josh Anderson coming in and fitting in well, but it seems like they've hit kind of a cold snap.
Yeah.
Like it's like the Montreal of the past 5 years where they're decent defensively, but they can't score, or they can't score when they need to score. Right. So I don't know. I need to see a team prove me wrong there. And they've kind of stuck themselves in that position for me.
Yeah. Well, I think this division is harder than people are giving it credit for. Like, I think we mentioned Ottawa having a resurgence. I don't think there's an easy night. Most seasons you could get a team that's like, oh, we've been traveling 4 games in a row. We're kind of tired. We're last in the conference. We're going to phone it in today. Not consciously saying that, but subconsciously you can sometimes tell. But this division, you don't want to give up anything. Like if you're Ottawa, you're like, I don't want to give anything to Toronto or Montreal or Calgary for that matter. So
no, exactly.
Even Vancouver, they're a good team when they get on like a heater. They just beat Calgary 5-1 the other day. So every team in this, all 7 teams has a shot every night. So I think, with Toronto pulling ahead, they've even had some blips, right? They lost to Calgary today, who's out of the playoffs. They lost to Ottawa twice. So I just think it's a tight division, and I think people are going to have these ups and downs throughout the year, and I think this is just Montreal's time. But I always just assumed they would be in there. When I was doing my playoffs, I was like, okay, who does Calgary got to bump out? And it was always just probably Edmonton or Winnipeg. But now it's Montreal. So hopefully it's a prolonged streak because I'd like to see Calgary make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, we talked on the top of the hour here about, I don't know if it was the top of the hour. I'll just say, we talked at the top of the show here that you went to the Heritage Classic. I also went to the Heritage Classic, the one in Calgary at McMahon Stadium here, which was super fun. It was against Montreal. Kiprasov got a shutout. I think it's the only outdoor shutout still, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So hats off to Kipper. He's a legend. But NHL played in Lake Tahoe this weekend. I didn't know about it until literally like the day before the game. And I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Like no marketing went into this thing.
I think the NHL does a horrible job marketing everything.
100%. In general, like we mentioned McDavid and Crosby, like they don't get marketed enough. And this game didn't get marketed enough. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to really like watch this game and see. So I turned it on. It was a little bit late, and it was like a replay of the first period. I was like, "What the heck's
Yeah.
going on here?" And the ice melted. Like, did you watch this thing? Did you see this happen live?
I didn't see it happen live, but I did tune in to see I saw the last of the first period. So I guess I did. But players were falling, center ice, refs were falling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it makes me question having games in places and markets that, have warm weather.
Yep.
At this time of year. Like, is that a smart idea? Would they have been better off doing it, say, on like Emerald Lake or, Lake Louise or somewhere where, it's
Yeah.
guaranteed cold?
Well, you say guaranteed cold. It's +6 in Calgary right now, so
Well, it's nice in Regina too. Yeah.
yeah, we're getting one of those Chinooks. So you never quite know with the weather. I know sometimes there's been rain, there's been snow, so it is kind of a crapshoot with these outdoor games. Apparently, like it looked beautiful. Like you just look at
Right.
the pictures, and that
Oh,
can
yeah.
like sell the NHL in 1,000, social media posts, right? There, people are going to
Yeah.
post those pictures. No fans in attendance, unfortunately, given everything that's going on. Obviously, there would be no fans. My question for you is, if you were Gary Bettman and you could put an outdoor game, it could be fans, could be no fans.
Right.
What are some ideas that you would try out? It could be weird, it could be wacky, but the NHL tried something new with Lake Tahoe, and it worked. I'd say it kind of worked. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate, but I think if they went back, they would learn from that, and I think people would be like, "Oh, this is awesome again," and maybe get some stands up next time.
Right.
But I'll let you think of that. For me, I got a couple here, so I'll just throw one out. I mean, you
Okay.
mentioned Lake Louise.
Yeah.
I don't know. This would be kind of fun. I don't know if it's dumb, but I would do one in West Edmonton Mall. Like, I don't know.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
World's or North America's largest mall, and I don't know where you would do it. I know they have a hockey rink there. You might have to like do it someplace else, but I think that'd be kind of cool. Like, it would be it's such an iconic thing in Edmonton. And I always associate Edmonton with the mall. So what better place than to play a hockey game in a mall? I think that would be cool. So that's one of my ideas. It could be like people probably watching this are like, if you're in the States, West Edmonton Mall is this huge mall in Edmonton. You got to look it up. It's awesome. It's like my favorite thing about Edmonton.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. They got the arena.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
they got the rink.
Right? They also have an amusement park and a water slide. Like, they have everything there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the players could stay at Fantasyland. Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. What about you? Throw one out. Could be weird. Could be wacky. It could be something.
It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be. I go to the lake every summer, and well, in the winter as well. I was just there, and it's Greenwater Lake Provincial Park, and that is by where Barron grew up in Wadena. So it's about 40 minutes to. I think it's about 40 minutes away from Wadena, north of Wadena. It's a decent sized lake with forest all around. So I think it would be cool to have one on the lake. I know.
That'd be cool.
I think it'd be kind of cool just to see it. So
yeah,
that'd be kind of neat.
That'd be awesome. I dig that. Yeah. For my next one, I'm going to go international. I'm going to go to Moscow, and I'm going to go in front of the Red Square. You see like those buildings in the background, the infamous Moscow. I think it's like churches. I don't know, like the shape of the buildings back there. But I think that'd be really cool. And the game's gone international, and it'd be a way to really sell the game to an international crowd. So, that might be something they do. Maybe
sweet,
maybe not given what's going on right now, but that'd be kind of cool. Or maybe like something in like another stadium. Like Regina was cool because like they don't have an NHL team, so it was cool to go there. Maybe something like in Lambeau Field in the States, like where the Packers play.
New York, 30 Rockefeller Plaza.
That would be super cool, right?
Kind of cool, yeah.
Right, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. We're just brainstorming ideas here. Gary Bettman, shoot us a line, let us know. We can help you out. We'll sell
my backyard.
Right, that would be
not
cool
big
too.
Enough.
Well, they have that craft hockeyville, right? So they always play in like small little cities. So that's kind of cool. So I mentioned playing in Moscow, and I said maybe
Yeah.
not, given what's going on. So this news story just hit the wire like earlier today, and it was
Yes.
Panarin unfortunately got accused of stuff about. I don't know the exact details. I'll let you take this one.
Now, okay, I'll go into my notes here because Barron, coincidentally enough, shared a tweet that kind of really summarizes it all really well.
Perfect.
Now, Panarin is not a Putin supporter.
Okay.
So Vladimir Putin is the president of Russia, and he's got this coach who was Nazarov, who coached Panarin in the league, and he came out with this story that stated that in 2011, Artemi Panarin had physically assaulted an 18-year-old woman, and charges were dropped. Anyways, this is all from Slava Malamud on Twitter that kind of debunks it. Just says his story appears to be unraveling. This Nazarov's Panarin story. Now, once this all came out too, Panarin took a leave of absence from the team,
right,
just to kind of, I believe, alleviate the drama around that. I think he was upset. He probably felt threatened as well because, you know, it's Russian politics, and when they say they love the nation, they're saying they love Putin. Right. So, yeah, it says that it was unraveling, and that multiple former Vityaz players are vehemently denying that it ever happened. His motivation was rather transparent. His past history of wild and unsubstantiated claims is telling. So it goes on to state a lot of this coach's history with fabricating stories and creating wild, misleading intricacies and stories to, like, it's actually quite insane. Like, I almost feel like I should read this, but it's just crazy because this guy thinks he's such a great patriot because he's supports Putin, and I think he's just so offended that someone else would, support someone else politically, which is kind of how they roll in Russia, to my knowledge, and through just hearing rumors. So what I say about Russia is not fact either, because I don't know a damn thing. But this was really interesting. This coach fabricated this huge story, and I guess Panarin felt threatened by it. So we'll see what happens with Panarin as well through this, because there was, it's weird to watch on Twitter, but they're like, watch out for Panarin getting assassinated and all this stuff. Like, it's nuts. I didn't realize how insane politics were in Russia. But I guess, there was the Alex McGinley deportation that they tried to sneak him out. Like, if you look at that, and how prominent their political system is there. So this is a really good example that it's alive and well, and that it's insanely corrupt. So I just thought it was wild, and
it's scary.
It is scary, and it created quite the buzz on the internet today.
Oh yeah, and it's unfortunate for other Russian players because it puts like not an asterisk, but like a question mark in terms of if you're going to draft a Russian player, because there is that thing out there because of the KHL, which is the big Russian hockey league, that a lot of players, prefer to play at home. They can play there. There's no rookie contracts there. And I believe there's no income tax on the team. So players get to keep every cent that they make, as opposed to coming into the NHL, playing 3 years on a rookie deal, and then getting, bigger money. You still make insane money, but you know what I mean? And we've seen players make the jump back to the KHL, like Ilya Kovalchuk went there, Pavel Datsyuk. So it is something that happens. And, if you're a team looking to draft the next superstar and you have two players of equal skill, I think it's going to turn some players off, because if one's from Stockholm and one's from Moscow, the player from Stockholm will more likely come and play in the NHL. And even if they do come in the NHL, you got this other stuff outside the rink that's kind of gonna, follow them around. You know, it could follow them around, which is scary because Panarin is a hell of a player. Like he was, in my opinion, he should have won the MVP last year. Like he took that Rangers team and he was like he was the whole team, and that team had no business being anywhere near the
Everywhere he's
qualifying round.
gone. Yeah, everywhere he's gone, he's been a cornerstone and he's really proven himself. Because like when he was in Chicago, you're like, okay, he's playing with Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Of course he's going to be good.
Right.
And then he went to Columbus and you're like, oh, this guy's the real deal. He's holding his own and he is leading the charge. So you knew that wherever he went after that was money.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, I 100% agree. So to see this stuff, it's scary. I hope the best for Panarin, and I hope everything. I hope it's the right move for him to go away from the team. Unfortunately, because this is some serious stuff that he's dealing with. So he's gonna have to keep his focus on this. And even if he comes back, it would be scary. Like it's definitely gonna affect his play. You would think, like having this over you, it's like a black cloud. Like you would be worried, and rightfully so. So. Hoping all the best for Panarin because this is a scary situation, and I think Andrei Nazarov is a former Flame, and he was like a enforcer. So,
wow,
yeah. So I think I think this is the same Nazarov. I could be wrong, but the name sounds familiar. Maybe he played for the Flames. The name sounds familiar. So,
that's interesting.
For him to make these accusations is. It's kind of crazy that he could just make this stuff up because it looks like that's what it is. It's just I'm trying to get this guy in trouble because he's not supporting Putin in the KHL. So
the last tweet on this thread is actually kind of funny.
All right, let's hear it.
It says Panarin might not. Oh yeah, it says so. Basically, this is it. You can wrap yourself in flag and be a pretty detestable human, or you can be who you are, even if it means bad things may happen to you. At this point, Nazarov's story may still be proven true or somewhat true. Who knows? Panarin might not be an angel after all. This is not about his moral character. Humans are complicated after all, and drunk humans are unpredictable. This is about the different kinds of patriotism. Having said that, I'm sure Nazarov is full of shit on all accounts.
I agree. I agree on that one here. So we'll see how this plays out, and wishing the best for Panarin. And I hope this isn't true. It doesn't sound like it's true, but we'll wait and see. So before we wrap up here, we're just gonna do one little more story. We got the Maple Leafs. Pilon is our biggest Maple Leaf supporter on the podcast. We want to throw him a bone, so we went a whole episode and we didn't really talk any good about the Leafs the whole episode. Number one team in the North, and poor Pilon's been waiting this whole time for us to say something good about the Leafs. So Austin Matthews, he has, was it 18 goals now?
18 goals and 18 games played.
Yeah. Well, 19 now because he didn't get one against Calgary. So
yeah, guess who ended that?
Yeah, David Rittich. There you go. You can't get one by Big Save Dave. He should have threw his stick up again and done Batista.
I think that was his curse. That was his curse. He did that, and he has not played well against the Oilers since.
Well, you see that game after when he got lit up. The game I was there. You could see the Oilers chirping him hard after he got pulled. Like they took it personal. Like Edmonton takes stuff personal. Like the media, the fans, the team. If you do something to upset that team, you'll hear about it.
Yeah.
Like Kachuk is hearing about it. David Rittich is hearing about it, and even not to get sidetracked from the Oilers, but even the media in Edmonton, they're saying it's 7-1. It's against a rival, and Dave Tippett put out his second power play unit on a late power play, and they're saying, no, you put out McDavid and you run up the score. And I was just sitting there like, what? Like this is crazy, but like to them, it's personal. Like they hate the Flames again. It's good to see, man. I bet you if this was any other team, they wouldn't have said that. But because it's Calgary, they're like, we got to run up the score, and I love to see that the rivalry's back. But getting back to Toronto, so Matthews, do you think he has a shot at 50 goals in 50 games? And if he does that automatically make him the Hart Trophy winner?
I think he does. It's difficult to say. I think for sure he's a finalist at that point. And And if he does get 50 goals, and you know what? It's a shoo-in. Absolutely. Now that you say it, like 50 goals in 56 games is kind of insane.
Right.
But also 106 points in 56 games
Right.
is also insane, which is what Connor's on pace for. So like if it came down to that,
What are
what's
you
it
gonna
going to
do?
be, right? Exactly.
To me, I think it also has to do with the team, right? Like if
Yeah.
one of those teams missed the playoffs, then I don't think you can, even if McDavid puts up 106 points
Right.
in their fifth, unfortunately, I don't think you can vote for him. I personally have nothing against it. When Iginla led the league in scoring, people did hold it against him, and they didn't vote for him that year, unfortunately, and he didn't win the Hart Trophy. Me personally, I wouldn't do it because, to me, it doesn't matter because you get 100 points on a team that doesn't make the playoffs. Well, you did everything you could. Like, you're only out on the ice for 20, 25 minutes a game. But I know some fans or some media members do say you didn't make the playoffs, you're not getting on my ballot.
Yeah, and I don't think that's fair because it shows a player is doing everything possible to try to get their team there. So they're not copping out, they're not trying to fail. They're doing their best. So I don't know, there's kind of that double-edged sword when it comes to that.
Yeah, like you go back to 2002, Iginla he was by far the best forward in the NHL, and he carried his line mates were Dean McCammon and Craig Conroy.
Yeah.
Now, no shade to those two players. Craig Conroy is a wonderful human being. You listen to the guy speak, he's wonderful. And Dean McCammon, I'm sure, is a nice guy. Like, he seems like a nice guy. But Iginla got 50 goals playing on the wing to those two players, and he was the only offense on the Flames. And people still didn't vote for him to win the MVP, and, Jose Theodore won it. Yes, I'm still bitter about that. But getting back to this, for me, 50 goals in 50 games, I think that's more impressive because you get 100 points or however many points. Some of them could have been secondary assists. Some of them could have been, I passed the puck to Draisaitl. Draisaitl goes around the other team and scores. Whereas with Matthews, if you're scoring the goal, you're the one who's putting the puck in. You know what I mean? So for me, I think it's a little bit more impressive. Do you see that? Do you make the difference between goals and assists? Is one more impressive to you than the other?
Not for primary. There's no goals without assists, right? True. Except for the unassisted goal that happens every once in a while, which is pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does Connor get to 500 without assists, right? Does Connor get to 500, and that's the importance of the goal too, because, Puljujarvi gets that puck and roofs it.
Right.
Or is it like, Connor loops around, he gets the puck from someone like Tyson Barrie, who scoots it up the ice to him to get there faster, right? Mm-hmm. That still helps out that play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that a lot of people have a lot of opinions about goals being more valuable than assists, but without assists, you don't really have a goal.
Wise words.
That's right.
I like it. I like it. No, man, that makes sense. I think with the secondary assist, it kind of skews it a bit, but I mean, it's hard to take out because it's like, where do you draw the line, right? Like, if you have the secondary assist, you take it out, then do you go way back in time and be like, well, Gretzky would have only had, 2,100 points kind of thing, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
Right. So I think the secondary assist is a good place to cut it off, but definitely it shouldn't be worth less, but it is worth less in my opinion, because it's like, once it's like a tic-tac,
it should almost be like a 0.5.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think so. That makes sense. So, I mean, but it's hard to say because like, I very rarely is a secondary assist like the person like made a play that was like paramount to getting the goal. So yeah, 0.5. I think that sounds fair.
Right. Unless it's like a tic-tac-toe, where this player passes and this player who passes across crease to this player and taps it in. So it creates that movement, that lateral movement with the goalie. But yeah, I agree. Those secondary assists are the most useless of the three.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know where to start because I know, like in Europe, some leagues don't have that secondary assist. So you look at point totals and they're way down, and you're like, well, what the heck? And then it's like, oh, well, we only have one assist. So I don't know how they do it in other leagues like soccer and whatnot, but Yeah.
Soccer.
So, yeah. What's that?
Football, soccer, figure it out.
Pick a name and go with it, you know.
Oh God, exactly. Watch a ball get kicked around midfield.
Right.
Yeah.
Take that, soccer. You're not popular anymore.
I think it's so boring. It's like curling. Actually, curling might be more exciting at
Curling's
times.
awesome, man. I love curling.
Yeah, curling's fun to play.
Yeah.
And I've got a cousin who's like played in the Scotties, and
nice.
she's a really good curler, but I just can't get into it unless it's like the Olympics.
Yeah.
And the best kind of curling was that 2-person curling, that male and female teams that they had in the Olympics, the last Winter Olympics.
Oh,
that
like
was exciting.
Doubles?
Yes, the mixed doubles was so much fun.
Well, maybe we should start a curling podcast like next Winter Olympics. We're gonna do like a curling podcast. Yeah. We'll be like those people that did at like the Vancouver Olympics where they broke down everything day by day. So when delayed offside, when the Winter Olympics are next year, we're gonna do like daily breakdowns of like ski jumping, and we're gonna be experts and be like, he didn't really stick the landing, so I would have given him like a 6.5. Yeah.
Welcome. You're in the house with Adam and Sanjay. We're gonna hit the button.
Yeah.
No one's got their guard up here.
We're gonna sweep you off your feet with tonight's episode.
Now for our final flashpoint minute. Hurry! Yeah. Hurry hard! Hurry!
I love it, man. If we got 5 viewers, maybe that'd be our niche, man. Maybe we'll like do that and be like 1,000 viewers. They'll be like, finally, the world's first curling podcast. Like we hit that.
That'd be sweet to do like, a Winter Olympic podcast for that, like 10 days.
Let's do it up.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
All right, I'm game. Well, I'm committing Pilon and Barron.
Ron McLean and Brian Williams.
We'll need coffee mugs and like red plaid. I don't have to play that Canadian song every intro of the Vancouver Olympics. And I was like, doo-doo-doo, the one that like came in every like commercial break. We need to.
I can't remember it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to post.
Isn't there like, what was the ba 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 da, ba ba? Was that one of them too?
I don't know, but I could just see Barron right now listening to this episode, just being so disappointed in us that we
talk about the front office at the Coyotes.
Yeah,
I think we'll get to that next podcast.
That's a next week episode.
We have to hit Panarin. Panarin, push that aside.
Right. It's kind of like when the boss is away and you're just like, okay, like today's gonna be an easy day, So that's what it is without Barron and Pilon, our bosses here. So we kind of just slacked this episode, and
we played Flunkerton.
Yeah. Well, Adam, it was fun killing this penalty with you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
no
man.
Goals against.
Yeah, that's right. We killed the 5-on-3.
We did it.
We got a goal.
Block shots.
Yeah.
We got a goal.
I ain't blocking shots, good. Man. I'm too pretty.
Yeah, I know. I wear a full mask.
Oh, do you? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, no, I don't. I don't play.
Yeah, neither do I. I just criticize the world's best that play for the Flames. I'm like, why couldn't you get that? And there I am on the couch. But I had a ton of fun with you, and I'm glad we got to do this episode. And join us next week when when Barron and Pilon will be back. Maybe Pilon will be back. Maybe Barron will be back. I don't know. You got to tune in to find out. It's the world's most intense question. Who's going to be back next week? Last week I wasn't here. Now this week Barron and Pilon aren't here. Who's going to be here next week? Tune in to find out.
Will it be the beard or the dad?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Or the beard dad. Maybe Pilon hasn't had time to shave, so now he's got like that dad beard growing. He's going to be like a wise old man now.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Glazed look on his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. A coffee mug. He's going to be ready. He's in like a house coat and slippers. Just like.
Oh, his hair's even grayer.
Yeah. Just slumping around. I better be nice to him in case I can't edit this because he's our tech wizard.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah. All right. So for Delayed Offside, I'm Sanjay.
And I'm Adam.
And thank you for joining Delayed Offside. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. You wanna.
We